Well, good evening. Good evening. It's Thursday afternoon, which means it's time for another SFOI 1000 update. Missed last week. We were out of town, the wife and I celebrating our 32nd wedding anniversary, so I was not able to do a live event. I'm sure you guys understand that. Life happens, got to take care of things like that. And we had a great time with the Gatlinburg, spent a few days, and just hung out with just me and her. Didn't do a whole lot, just doing little simple things. Went to arcades and went to eat pancakes and such as that. But had a good time, so I apologize for being absent, but I appreciate your understanding and thank you for checking in this week. So we're in a full bowl season swing right now. The college season, regular season, has been over a few weeks. We've been into bowl games. A couple weeks ago, I was able to go down to preach at the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. Some other brothers joined me there. We had a good time. The crowd wasn't as heavy as it might be for more, I don't know the right word, more popular schools, I guess, for playing. But it was a good amount of foot traffic, and we were able to pass out a lot of tracts and preach to a lot of people and talk to some folks. So it was a good time. So we had a good time with that, and we'll be there this Saturday, as we'll get into here in a minute. But without further ado, I do not have a guest this week. I know it's the Christmas, New Year's season, so I didn't want to pile anything else on anyone else. I know it's busy with events, family stuff, and especially us street preachers with the bowl games and such as that. So I just wanted to let everybody else take the night off, if you will. We'll get back into having guests on here pretty soon, so you want to listen to just me ramble. But let's get into the games coming up this weekend. Let's see if I can get the right slide to come up here. Nope. That's not it either. Bear with me. There we go. All right. If you go on here, I'll minimize myself so you can see that better. If you're still on here, yesterday, actually, Gerardo Ibarra was at Energy Stadium in Houston preaching there before the game there, and that was the TaxAct Texas Bowl between Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. Kickoff there was at 9 p.m. Eastern, so he was there yesterday. Just wanted to mention him. I didn't get on here last week to be able to remind you to pray for him. But then we have today, as well, Brother Bill has already been down at the Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. Kickoff there was at 5:45. He was preaching there at the Pop-Tarts Bowl, is what they call it. That was North Carolina State versus Kansas State. And then as we speak right now, good friend Francisco Nieves and Tom, his wingman there, they're down at the Alamo Bowl. I think it's called the Valero Alamo Bowl now. Kickoff there is at 9:15 Eastern, so they'll be there probably for another hour or so. But pray for those brothers as they're out there, faithful preachers of the gospel at that bowl game. Then tomorrow, December 29th. Brother Bill, if you'll see a pattern here with Brother Bill, this time of year, he spends like the whole month of December and January, I think, in Florida. He conveniently preached at the bowl games in Florida. I'm just kidding. We love Brother Bill. I know Florida's a great place to preach. Usually the weather's always great. A lot of bowl games, a lot of football teams down there, so it's a great place. But just picking on Bill a little bit. But he was there. He'll be there today. I'm sorry, he was there today. He will be there tomorrow at the Gator Bowl. That's in Jacksonville. That's Clemson versus Kentucky. The kickoff there is at noon. And then also the 29th, which is tomorrow as well. John, forgive me, I was my eyesight got messed up for a minute. John Dawson will be preaching at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl in Memphis, between Memphis and Iowa State. I guess the University of Memphis doesn't have to go too far for that one, huh? And then Joshua Chavez will be at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, preaching at the Cotton Bowl between Missouri and Ohio State. Should have a good crowd for that one. Kickoff there, 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's see if I can get my next slide up here. There we go. Then moving on the 30th of December, this Saturday, I'll be down at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Lord willing, with some guys preaching at the Peach Bowl. Be Ole Miss and Penn State. We should have a good crowd there. Kickoff is at noon. And most of the ministry times here is between 2 and 4 hours prior to kickoff. We usually go 3 hours prior. So we plan on being there between 9 a.m. and 12 at kickoff time down there at Mercedes-Benz. And that's kind of general rule of thumb for all these games is 2 to 3 hours before kickoff is when ministry time starts. And also on Saturday, John Coble will be up at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. It's the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. That's between Auburn and Maryland. That should be a good game. 2 p.m. Eastern time kickoff there. And Brother Bill again on Saturday will be at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. And that's the big game there between Georgia and Florida State. I'm sure if you're follow football at all, you'll know that those two are kind of both a little twisted up because they get left out of the playoffs, and we won't get into all that kind of stuff. But that should be a good game. That should be a real good game right there. Those two teams are really good. And then Diego Sandoval will be at Arizona Stadium in Tucson. Kickoff there is at 4:30, and that's the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl between Toledo and Wyoming. And then on January 1, Brother Bill will be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. That is the ReliaQuest Bowl between Wisconsin and LSU. Kickoff there is 12 p.m. Eastern as well. Should be a good game there. A lot of people. Matthew Redondo will be at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, which is where, as you know, the Cardinals play. This will be the Fiesta Bowl between Liberty and Oregon. Liberty, my alma mater. I've never been to Liberty, but that's where I got my bachelor's degree from, and they were actually undefeated this year, so they got a pretty good team, and so hopefully they can do some damage to Oregon there, maybe. Kickoff there at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Rick Garland, Brother Rick, will be at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena for the Alabama-Michigan playoff game, a semifinal game at 5 p.m. Eastern, and you know there's going to be a great crowd there, and a lot of fans will be coming through and be able to hear the gospel, get a gospel track, whatever they can be given there. And a lot of these bowl games, you know, I'm thankful for like the Brother Bill being down there at Miami Gardens because we typically preach down here at the Georgia games, and so the Georgia fans are still going to be confronted, if you will, with the gospel of Jesus Christ as they go down there to this bowl game. So that's one great thing I love about SFOI 1000. I've said probably many times is that you know, we overlap, and we and no matter where the fans go, our desire is for every game to have a preacher. So no matter where the fans go, they're going to hear the gospel. They're going to see the preaching, and it's just going to, you know, be a constant, for lack of a better word, bombardment of the gospel message that people so desperately need to hear, even though many do not think so. And so that's one thing I love about this, what we do. So let's go. Let's get these off the slate here. Let's get up the NFL games, the pro football games this weekend, this Sunday. We got 3 of them. On the 31st, we have Brother Brian Nine. He'll be up in Indianapolis for the Colts versus Raiders game. Kickoff there at 1 p.m. Eastern. Brother Phil Green, Denver Broncos Stadium, Chargers versus Broncos. Kickoff there is at 1 p.m. as well, Eastern time. All these times are Eastern. And Brother Bill Shank, Doc, will be at the Vikings game Sunday. The kickoff time there is at 8:20 p.m., so he has a night game. So that's the games coming up. And there's a few other things I want to go over and share with you, just to remind you what's going on with Bill. When he comes on, he shares this stuff as well, but I'm going to go ahead and reshare it with you just to remind you what's coming up. Of course, the next big thing for myself actually is the college football championship game at the Houston, Texas, where we're going out there the January 5th through the 8th. Have a team of 4 to 6 guys. It's kind of a little, there's a couple still not confirmed yet, but we're working on it. So if you're in the area or would like to come, you still actually have time to do so. We'll be staying out there in an Airbnb, and we have a van where we will be traveling using to get around different places, pick you up at the airport. Airbnb should have a kitchen. So what we'll do is, you know, drop off at a grocery store or something. Everybody get the food they want for the next day, and we'll make sure you get fed and all that stuff. And should be a good time. It's went out last year to LA for the college football championship game. Had 8 of us were out there at that time and had a great time. Large groups like what we're fixing to talk about, Super Bowl outreach, are awesome, but going these smaller events with smaller groups is also good too, because you get to know specific guys real well and hang out with them a lot. So it's going to be a good time. So if you looking for somewhere to go to preach, I'd encourage you to come on out and just get with me, and we can get you signed up. And and get you locked in, and we'll get out there and preach the gospel to the folks in Houston. Looking forward to it. Been working with the Houston authorities and the permit department and all this stuff to get permits for. You can go preach basically anywhere you want to on a public sidewalk, but if you're going to use a amplification, you have to get permits. So been working through all that for the last few weeks, or maybe a couple months now. I'm not sure which, but a lot of people out there are very helpful, and it's going to be a good time. We're going to have a pray for favor with the authorities and stuff. I believe we'll have a good time. We were out there for the Super Bowl a few years ago, and everything seemed to go pretty well. So we're looking forward to that event. So come on in and join us. Let's see what else we got coming up here. Let me hide that. All right, 2024 Indianapolis NBA All-Star Weekend. That's going to be, when is that? That's February 16th through 18th next year. And so I'm sure Bill's looking for some folks to go up there. You can go to the website, SFOI.org, and you can find all the information about all these events. Just kind of have to navigate through there and do the drop downs and stuff, and you can find pages for all the events. If you have any questions or something's not making sense to you, or you're not be able to find it, just give me or Bill one a call or text us or email us, and we'll get you headed in the right direction, certainly. And so we got that coming up. Let's see what else we got going here. Here's the big one here. Sportsman Outreach's largest event typically is the Super Bowl Outreach. And this is a great event. I went to the first event I went to with Sportsman Outreach was the Super Bowl Outreach in 2010, I think it was, in Miami. And the first one I went to, it was amazing. You know, there's between 80 and 100 guys, and women can go to. Some people bring their spouses and stuff, and you go out and you hang out with these guys. We usually stay at a camp, and it's 4 days, and you get it's a great time. Really, it's not. I don't want to say it's hard, but it's tiring. It's work. It's not like a vacation. I'll put it that way. You're actually going out to do ministry, and it's kind of encompassing all this. You get up in the morning and you pray, and you'll have breakfast. You'll have teaching times, and then you'll go out with your teams and you'll go to your preaching locations, and you'll be out there for about 8 hours a day for 3 days. We get there Thursday afternoon, and then we preach Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday at the stadium. And the first 2 days are around sporting event activities like the fanfare and all that stuff. And then the Sunday will be at the stadium itself, locations around it. Preach to the fans. It's a great time. Many benefits to going to the Super Bowl Outreach. I would encourage you to go. If you're just getting started, don't think, well, I don't want to jump into that one right off the bat. But this might be the very best one for you to start with. If you have never been out on the streets preaching or doing evangelism and you want to, this might be the best place for you to start, believe it or not. The reason being is because you have all these men here that many have been doing it for many years, and you can be around them. You can see how they do it, what they do. You can have interactions and discussions with them and get advice from them. You'll have the teaching times, and it's just you'll get to know lifelong friends. Like I know so many men now across the country that I would never have met outside of Sportsman Outreach, and I'm so thankful. They've been such a huge blessing to me, and I've learned so much from them. So brothers, if you desire to get started and you don't know where to start, I would just dive right into Super Bowl Outreach, and you won't be sorry. You'll be glad you did. And there's some great team leaders. I'm on Brother Mark Yoho's team. I've been on Andy's team before last year, and I've been a team leader as well. So it's from all aspects, it's just a great event. So I would encourage you to go there. Let's see what else we can find on here we got going on. All right, the St. Pete Grand Prix. I've never been able to get to this event. I would like to go sometime, but I heard it's a wonderful event. The weather is nice, maybe too nice. It's probably pretty warm down there in St. Pete, but this is in March 8th to the 10th, looks like. And again, this is probably one of the smaller groups that'll go. But it's from the guys I know that have been there. They all loved it, had a great time. So I would encourage you to check into that as well. If you live in Florida or around St. Petersburg or anywhere close that you can get to. That's one thing about these events. We have them all over the country. So if you can't get to one, say, Super Bowl Outreach this year's in Vegas, I forgot to mention that. I hope you saw it on the slide. But if you can't get out west for that, then you might get to Florida for this Grand Prix. So there's another event. Then in May, I think it is, we'll have the Kentucky Derby outreach coming up, and that will be Brother Bobby McCreary typically heads that up. I believe he will be doing that again. And let me adjust a few things here, and I'll be right with you. And that's really that's kind of the next few months, what's going on with Sportsman Outreach International, and then there's some other stuff. And after a football season, it's kind of we'll get a slight I take a slight breather, I guess you could say, just from doing SFOI 1000 and going to all these ball games and stuff. And so I know this time of year it gets, especially with Christmas and everything happening too, and family events, you get tired. And I get that. Bill gets that. We all get that. But we want to finish strong and do what we're committed to do and get out there and preach at these games. And I so much appreciate all you men who have been faithful to do so. I know at times things come up and we can't make it to events, but for those of you who diligently strive to be consistent and get there, I appreciate you so much. I can't just express to you how much I do love and appreciate you, and just getting to know a lot of you. I need to get to know a lot more of you more, and look forward to doing that. But I just want to thank all of you for being out there and preaching the gospel. Just keep on keeping on. Just because football season's over don't mean we stop preaching. I mean, there's still places to go and events. There's baseball season, basketball season. There's all kinds of sporting events to get to, and you don't have to just go to those. I mean, there's festivals and downtown areas like we have in Athens here. You get to go preach weekly, and you can always be there. Or like up in Dahlonega, where Brother Sterling goes every Friday, him and his bride and a friend of theirs, and they go up there and they'll preach and witness to people up there on the square in Dahlonega. It's a little touristy town. You got places like Helen, Georgia, and I know I'm speaking of all the locals, Georgia stuff. That's what I'm familiar with, but just giving you some examples of places where you might go in your area and just seek out where people gather. That's what we're looking for. It doesn't have to be a sporting event. It's just wherever people gather is where we want to go and get the gospel to these folks, just as Scripture tells us, to go and preach the gospel to all creation. We want to be faithful in doing so, but we know that we can't be everywhere all the time, but we desire to be out there preaching. And if that's your heart and you just don't know where to start, please get with us and we can help you out. And there's other opportunities Sportsman Outreach has. We mentioned many of the events we go to, but there's also preparation. There's Keep Your Finger in the Text for Brother Heath Putzel. There's two different avenues of that kind of that you can get online. You can check those out. And that's been a great help to me being involved in that. And it would be to you too. If you think you don't know how to get something together to say on the street or something, that would be a great help to organize your thoughts. Even if you've been doing it for a long time, it still would be helpful to you to do that. You can also get some gospel tracts if you need a waterproof Bible, if you're worried about your Bible getting wet in the rain. And Bill, he sells those as well, and backpacks and all kinds of stuff. So there's many things the Sports Fan Outreach provides for us, that opportunities and items and things we need for the ministry. So I would encourage you to, as Bill used to say, get in the game and let's get out there and let's preach the gospel and let's do the work while it's daylight. One day it's all going to end. Jesus is going to come back, and there's a old saying, one thing you can't do in heaven is share the gospel with an unbeliever, because there won't be any there. So let's do what we're called to do here on earth. Let's get out there and let's preach the gospel